Welcome to our channel, Million Dollars Made Easy. We believe this is a unique channel on YouTube because we run numbers for you. Just ask in the comment section and I'll run the numbers. What am I talking about? We look at what the S&P 500 has done for the last 100 years and reason that it's probably not going to be any worse or any better than the last 100 years. And here's what we're talking about. These are the returns for the last 100 years. We could get down decades like the 1930s. We could get in the 2000s. We could get nice decades like the 1980s, 90s, and even the 20 teens. And that's why we like to look at longer periods of time so you can catch, even if you have a down decade, you can catch some of these better decades, the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Or if you have a down decade like the 1970s, you can have good ones like 80s and 90s, and especially recently, the year 2000s. We're a down decade, but look how it came back. So we reason if you can just be in it for 30 or 35 years, that you're going to be a lot better off. Of course, that requires that you need to start at a younger age. So we want to look at somebody. This individual is 22 years old, and he just asked me to run these numbers, which is what we do on this channel. Said he's got 10,000. I want to make sure I get this right. He's got $10,000 currently saved. It looks like he really wants to make investing a priority. He says he wants to invest $1,200 a month. Good for him. 22 years old. So what we want to do is see where he might be. Let me see what he asked for. Want to know when he might be hitting $1 million and even 1.5 to 2.5 million with possibility of early retirement. As I've said in other videos, it seems like I'm running into a lot of young people that want to retire early. But let's see where he'd be. If he's putting in 1,200 a month, he's going to be in good shape. Let's see what the numbers show. Again, this is for the last 100 years. I'm going to show you 1924, show you how these numbers would come about. This is 1924 numbers. As you can see, there was a bunch of good returns from 24 to 28, and then they had a down decade with the Depression. And yet, even in that scenario, with a 1,200 a month, after 30 years, individual, again, if the returns are like they were in 1924, he'd have over 2.3 million after 30 years, and over 6 million after 35 years. And here are the numbers right here. Again, we're talking about a 22-year-old. I mean, if he could get returns like 1924 going forward, he'd have 10 million after 40 years, but he wants to retire early. Some of us might think retiring at 62 is early, but he's 22. But look at the kind of numbers. Now, this isn't true for every year. Some years are worse than others, and that's why we want to look at, let's just look at the 35-year column, which means he could retire at 57. You might want to consider the one at 52, but I'm going to look at the 57 because I love the 35-year run. And down through this column, you're going to see 6, 7 million, 8 million, 9 million. But I want to look at the absolute minimum in this column, and that'd be $3.813 million. There was in 1940 what was 3.949. That's the worst case scenario you're going to see for this investment plan, starting with 10,000, investing 1,200 a month. Over that 35-year period, he would contribute 514,000. And yet, look at this. In the worst case scenario, you would have 7 times that amount when you retire. And in the median situation, you'd have 10 times that amount. See what the S&P 500 can do for you? That's why I love running numbers for people to give them some idea what might lie ahead for them if they stay for these certain periods of time. Now, if you look at 40-year period, if he could hang in until he's 62, he would contribute 586,000, and yet the minimum would be over $6 million, with the median being $9.443 million. Obviously, he might be considering more like the 30 years, see where he might be so he could retire. I do want to caution him that you do need to take into account inflation, which I pretty much run it at 2.8%, which means the prices double every 25 years. So this 1.893 in a 30-year period, we have the buying power of 826,000, and this buying power of this 3.8 would be 1.45. Again, that's in the worst case scenario. The buying power, the median for a 35-year period, it would be 2 million. That's how we like to run the numbers here. And again, please consider subscribing to this channel. If this looks appealing to you, I will run numbers for you. Just put it in the comment section. Many people are starting to do that. I'm getting a lot of young people because they realize the benefit of being in it for the long run, even though most of them want to retire early, don't want to work for 40 years. But you get in there this 22-year-old, even a 35-year period, look at the kind of numbers he can look forward to. Again, we don't think the market's going to do any worse or any better than what's done for the last 100 years. Again, we're not going to be any worse than the 1930s, which are the Depression years, or even the 2000s, but it's probably going to be somewhere between these numbers that we just saw, between the 35-year, between 3.8 million and 11 million, given this scenario. Consider subscribing, share this with your friends, and please like the video. And I just love hearing from you. In the comment section, just put what numbers you want me to run. Like I said, I think this is unique in all of the YouTube channels, that you get to put down what you want me to run. Thanks for watching.